Yo, what is up everyone? This is OJ over here from PlayerEssence and welcome to the PE news video. Today, we've got a bunch of great topics to get into, so let's go ahead and jump right in. So the first thing that I want to address are a couple mistakes that I've made on previous videos, and I've actually updated those videos in the comment section as far as what I wanted to say or updates that have happened, but I want to make sure that we get the story straight because there is a lot of misinformation and kind of stupidity going on the internet, which I'll talk about in a bit. But The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. So at first I reported that was 1080p. That's what IGN said. It seems like there's been some confusion on that one, and some are saying 900p, I think Digital Foundry, but we don't know the 100% full story at this point. We don't know if that's the complete 100% final build. So for right now, we just don't know exactly what the final build of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild will be. There's also been some reps, or apparently people have saying that it might be 900p on the show floor. So we won't know until the final build is in our hands and we can actually test it out and see there. So I did actually correct that in the comment section. In addition to that, I just wanted to make sure as far as the micro SDXC storage for the Nintendo Switch. The Nintendo Switch will support up to 2 terabytes in micro SDXC memory cards, okay, up to 2 terabytes. Now, 2 terabytes are not available at this point. The highest that you can get is 512, and those prices are kind of expensive. I think the cheapest you can get from what I've seen is 200 gigabytes, or as far as like the most storage for the price is 200 gigabytes for around $70. If you want, I would probably go with the 128 for around $40 or so. You can actually find that pretty good deals on Amazon, but I wanted to make sure I corrected that because I actually showed normal SD storage, I think at one point, or SDXC storage and not the micro. So I do want to let you guys know that it is micro. And another thing is this: some people have been going around and saying that, oh well, bigger games can't come to the Nintendo Switch because look at how big they are on PS4 and Xbox One. Guys, that is apples to oranges. It is not the same thing. The technology within the Switch is different. Games do not install. When it comes to how much memory that you actually have on the system, which is 32 gigabytes of internal memory, you do not need to install any games to the system. I'm seeing YouTubers with hundreds of thousands of subscribers or more telling their users that, oh my gosh, there's not going to be any space because when you get a couple games, it gets all filled out. That is not the case, guys, with physical games. It's just like the Wii U. When you pop that cartridge into the Nintendo Switch, you will not be prompted with an install for the full size of the game like PS4 and Xbox One. Wii U was the same thing. You pop that disc into there and you just play the game. Sometimes you can download DLC or an update or a patch or whatever the case is, but at the same time, it does not take the full size of the game like PS4 and Xbox One, where no matter what, whether you buy physical or digital, it will take up your hard drive space. So if you buy games physical, so if you buy all of your games physical on the Nintendo Switch, it will only take up the space for possibly saves, maybe some patches, if you want DLC, whatever the case is, but it's not going to be the full game. I want to make sure that is very clear because there are people going out there and spreading this information and saying that developers can't put bigger games on the Nintendo Switch because for some reason it only has 32 gigabytes and that's not going to be enough. Also, we don't know the actual size of the cartridges as far as what games are going to be able to hold. We've heard rumors and only rumors that it's 16 gigabytes. We don't know if developers could do 32 or could do more. We still need to get the final rundown on that as well. So guys, please try to avoid the misinformation, and if you do hear it, question where somebody heard that, because lots of times it comes from a rumor or other times it just comes from just something that people just heard. But I can confirm as far as SDXC support, micro SDXC support, that is 2 terabytes. That is confirmed from Nintendo. Alrighty, now with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into the news here. So if you check out the Nintendo Switch hands-on event in Japan, there are huge lines. So this did happen a couple days ago, but I just wanted to report on it because this is going to be big. I think a lot of people, of course, are underestimating what Japan has to say in this console. The Nintendo 3DS was easily the biggest success out of any of the current generation systems, devices, whatever you want to call it, even passing up the PS2. Why? Because of its portable feature. Heck, even the PS Vita in Japan is doing well compared to all the other systems out on the market. So I do think that the fact that the Nintendo Switch is portable is going to be a big thing. You put Pokemon on there, obviously put Fire Emblem, you put more of the Japanese games, and you're going to have a hit success. So I do hear people saying that this could be a Wii U situation when we all know that 3DS developers are already putting their content on the Nintendo Switch. So we're going to see far more games, we're going to see far more content than we saw on the Wii U, since game development is now unified. We're even seeing this like with Square Enix and Silicon Studio, the Bravely Default dudes putting their game on the Nintendo Switch. They didn't put anything out on the Wii U, and we're going to see more of that. Plus there's more games being announced all the time, so I think people are being a little quick to jump the gun. Check out these lines here. I think this is fantastic, and I'm really interested in this because if this system takes off in Japan, some of the heavy hitters are definitely going to come to the system. The Japanese developers like Square Enix, Capcom, Koei Tecmo, all of them are going to make games work on the system, especially if it takes off like the Nintendo 3DS did in Japan. All right, moving on to the next article here. Reggie Fils-Aime has confirmed that Super Mario Odyssey will be at E3 2017. I thought this was a no-brainer, but I guess it is news. So this does come from Reggie Fils-Aime, Nintendo of America president. Quotations, the only decision that was made from an E3 consideration standpoint was, do we show Super Mario Odyssey from a hands-on perspective today versus E3? And we're going to show it at E3. But at least from a Nintendo perspective, there's no other consideration that is driven by E3. So this really isn't a big surprise here, guys. Obviously, Super Mario Odyssey is a massive game. It's really cool, that hub world. The game just looks amazing. The graphics in the game are such a step up from Super Mario 3D World on the Nintendo Wii U. It is apparent, it looks vibrant, it looks beautiful, it just looks super fun to play. Some of the stuff that we've seen in there, it looks like Mario will be able to get different caps, and different caps will have different abilities. I love that. Upgrading, heck yeah, I love when Nintendo does that in their games. So I'm really interested to see the hands-on, and it makes me want to go to this year's E3 if I even qualify for it anymore. But it does really make me want to go to this year's E3 so I can play Super Mario Odyssey, and I can play all of these cool games that are going to be announced at E3 2017. So this is awesome all around, and I definitely want to hear what you guys think about Super Mario Odyssey in the comment section below. All right, guys, and moving on to the last article here, Reggie Fils-Aime has talked a little bit on the Nintendo Switch's launch lineup, having a steady flow of support and a new approach to online in addition to no friend code. So this is coming from a CNET interview with Reggie Fils-Aime on launch day software and having a consistent stream of support. Quotations, launch day is not the be all end all. It really is the steady pacing of content that continually reinforces for the people who bought the platform why they made a smart choice, as well as what compels people who might be sitting on the sideline to jump in. We feel we have a great ongoing march of content to motivate you to jump into the platform. I do want to talk about this before we get into the next thing here, and I have to 100% agree with Reggie. Obviously, the launch lineup does look a little bit small at this point, but there's still going to be games that are going to be added to that launch lineup. That is not the finalized launch lineup. Even with that infographic that they put in, it's definitely not a finalized list. So I do feel that they're going to add more titles in, but having a steady flow is definitely important, because if you remember back to the Wii U, you got so many games at one time. There were all those third-party games, there was a bunch of digital games and everything, and it seems like some games were just left out in the cold. So definitely you want to have a lot of games, but you don't want to overload things, especially with The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild there and games like Super Bomberman R. You want to make sure that you give every game a chance to sell, and having a steady stream of new content coming out through March till the big releases is going to be very key for Nintendo. So expect to see a few more titles added to that launch lineup. It's definitely not final, but I have to 100% agree, you have to have a steady flow, because after that initial launch of the Wii U, it took Nintendo all the way, literally like 7 months, if you're not counting Monster Hunter 3 from Capcom, and if you're not counting Lego City, it took them all the way to like June or so, 7 months after the launch in North America, to get another first-party game. There was some cool stuff. I mean, Bit Trip Runner was obviously amazing in that time period, and there was like Child of Light, but they definitely need to make sure that there's a bigger, steady flow of games, especially leading into different things. But it seems like they're doing it right, because Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which is going to be a massive seller, is April, 1 month after the Nintendo Switch launches. So that's definitely good. And then a little bit after that, you have ARMS and a few other games. So I definitely like this approach a lot better than they did before, because having all of those games on the Wii U might have been a detriment more than it was a help. Let's go ahead and get into the next thing that Reggie Fils-Aime had to say. This was on Nintendo's previous handling of online and their new approach to Nintendo Switch. Quotations, people have taken shots at us for that, Nintendo's online efforts in the past. The reality is, the way online experiences have progressed, it's an expensive proposition. The amount of servers we need to support Super Smash Bros. Or Mario Kart, these big multiplayer games, is not a small investment. there are no friend codes within what we're doing. So obviously this is really good news. You want to make sure that you don't have friend codes. Friend codes weren't a thing on the Wii U. They were a thing on the Nintendo 3DS, so that's why I think he's bringing that up. But yes, it does take a lot of servers. It does take a lot of just tech and everything to make sure that you have a cohesive, good experience online. Some people are still a little skeptical on Nintendo with this whole smartphone app thing and all of that, but personally for me, as someone who has their smartphone on them all the time and someone who actually sees the advantages of using a smartphone over an actual interface on there, and just as long as your smartphone actually links up and connects to your Nintendo Switch and sends those game invites or sends those messages to where people who don't necessarily have their smartphone can still see them, so someone can actually be an organizer for everything and there's on-screen notifications and all that, and it's actually linked up, I think it's a great idea. Now, if it's not linked up, then I think the smartphone app is definitely going to be an issue, but that's the reason why they're actually doing a free trial. Expect there to actually be added features during that free trial to make sure they perfect it before they charge for it. So that's exactly why I think that they're doing this free trial, because at the beginning it will be free. They're going to get user feedback. They're going to obviously test and bugs and all that stuff and squash all that and try to add as many features as possible. And then when it goes paid in the fall, as far as launching goes, it'll be all there. It'll pretty much have all the features that you do need, and it will be a cohesive experience that does link up to your actual Nintendo Switch, and people can actually see the notifications and join the games from the Nintendo Switch in addition to going from your smartphone. So I'm actually really excited to see what Nintendo has to offer, because I've been one of those people who were taking shots at Nintendo beforehand, so it was definitely me. So I'm thinking this will actually fix a lot of things. Having DNA in your corner is definitely a help. All right guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Go ahead and hit that like button if you did like it. Let you know you guys want more content like this going forward in the future, and subscribe to PlayerEssence for more news, reviews, trailers, tips and tricks, and everything in gaming. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you guys for the next video. Peace.